So we come here to overcome dukkha, and we are interested, putting some effort in our practice, and after 3 weeks or 3 months, we feel satisfied with our results and take a break. And that's the end of our travel to the end of dukkha. We have to have some perseverance to go along the path. We really have to put everything into. Just like the gold diggers in the last century or 2 centuries ago now. They worked hard for 40 years, just to get a handful of gold. They didn't care about the outside. They didn't care about their sleeping conditions. They didn't care about the food they were eating. They didn't care about anything. They didn't care about the torment of the body, about the hard work. They were looking just for gold. And they put up with everything. They put up with sickness, with little sleep, with hard work, just for a handful of gold. For 40 years, 30 years, 40 years. And then they got the gold, and they found the gold, and within a few months, they spent it in line with their wishes. When we go on this path of practice, when we want to find the gold that is hidden within our chitta, we are not prepared to do this kind of hard work. We are not prepared to sleep on on the hard floor or in an uncomfortable environment. We are not willing to put up with low-grade food or a low-grade environment. We want to have it very comfortable. We want to have good food, good sleeping conditions, and so on, and so on. You can't call that a spiritual warrior. A spiritual warrior, compare it, with the warriors who went out to search for some external things, search for something, that just vanishes under their sight. And now we're looking for something that is within us, something that never vanished. Once we found it, we found it. It's like it's looking in your backyard, or it's looking in your attic. You find something, you dust it up, or you put out the garbage, and then you find the gold there. And then it's yours. And it will be there forever. The gold that we can find on our spiritual search is a gold that will never vanish. And nobody else can take it away from us. So why not put all our effort in this search? People have done so many hardships. They have encountered so many hardships. People, who looked for the North Pole, or looked for this country or that country. How many hardships have they gone through? And how satisfied were they when they found actually what they were seeking? But this kind of finding, vanishes pretty quickly. But once we seek inside, it won't vanish. How can it vanish? It has always been there. It just has been hidden from us by a lot of dust, dirt, and shit. So when we want to find it, we have to prepare ourselves to dig in the dirt, to dig in the shit, to dig all things up to find it. but we are not prepared anymore. It's probably not the time anymore for spiritual seekers to find the good. It has been 100 years ago, where there was nothing. When the monks went out into the forest, there were just roaming tigers. What they got in their bowls, was a little bit of rice, enough rice, to sustain their living. There wasn't any cocoa or cola or whatever, or coffee or anything. There were no sweets and no sugar and no no cheese and chocolate and all these things, This makes us comfortable. It makes us so comfortable that we don't see the reason, to practice more. But people who don't have all these things, the only thing that they can overcome the dukkha is practice. Practice, practice, practice. Sleeping out in the cold. We have to practice. No, we're looking first, if you can't find a blanket here in the monastery, then we bother a lay person, then we are monks, or we just go out in the store and buy a blanket or a sleeping bag. And that's why, it's become so difficult. It's so difficult because we are not capable of doing it. It's so difficult because all these comforts that are around us. All these luxury things that surround us. Even 20 or 30 years ago, Tanaja Mahaprabhu, when he saw this, he said, the monks eat this good food, and before even the ship can sail out of the haven, the ship sinks. So heavy. It sinks into its bed, and sleeps instead of doing the practice. We have to get enough determination, and we have to put really up with difficulties. And it's not, to punish ourselves. Don't even think about it. We're not Christian monks who punish ourselves for the sins that we have done. We are going through these hardships to understand what hardships are. We're not going through the hardships, to punish ourselves. That would be ridiculous. That would be even wrong. Tanachaman actually scolded one of the monks who went through, I think it was through illness. He said, we are not yogis here. We're not just enduring the pain. This is completely stupid. We're investigating pain. That's why pain is there. That's why cold is there. That's why hunger is there. That's why all uncomfortable feelings are there. Not to endure them. This is stupid. We don't get any wisdom from that. We can endure pain like in Indian yogis, lying on a nail bed, We can get used to it. We can train our body to get used to it. But that doesn't mean that we understand it. We will be still stupid in the same sense as any other kind of person. We are doing investigating pain in all these uncomfortable feelings to understand the true source, to understand the true nature of these painful feelings or unpleasant feelings, and to understand how they arise and cease. That's why we have to undergo these things. And if we don't undergo them, where do we go? If we don't understand, what we are always running away from, what we have always been running away from all our lives, are unpleasant feelings. What we always run after were pleasant feelings. Our whole life, there's no exception, all our life. Always running away from unpleasant experiences. Be it very unpleasant or little unpleasant. Be it very painful or just little painful. running away, running to see the doctor. Being it a physical doctor or a mental doctor, going to our psychiatrist, he should solve the problems for us. So running away. We're running away. Where do we run? And wherever we run, we take everything with us. So we run from one country to the other, and we will face always the same problems. Because our baggage we always take away with us. How about, to get some of the big stones out of our luggage, You have a big bag, you have a big backpack, and everything what is in this big backpack are very heavy stones, that just drowns you. If you jump into the river, it drowns you. If you walk along the path, you can't be able, or you're not able to walk a few steps because you feel so tired. So tired. Why don't you throw away this backpack? Just throw it away. You think it belongs to you because you were born with it. It belongs to you. It's just like somebody is born in a car, He thinks the car belongs to him. He and the car is one and the same thing, He has nothing, never ever seen, being outside of the car. So he thinks the car and he is one and the same thing. And for us, it's very clear that the driver and the car are two different things, right? But he is locked in the car, so like our chitta is locked in this body. That's why we think, the body and I is one and the same thing. Or the body and the chitta is one and the same thing. How can it be? The chitta is the chitta, the body is the body. You also think that, Vedana and me are one and the same thing. Feeling is feeling and the chitta is the chitta. The same with memory and association. And I can observe memory. I can observe, association. I can observe feelings. Can't I? I even can observe this body. I just need to place the hand in front of my eyes, and then I see the body. Or I look in the mirror and then I see even my face. So. And who is the one who sees this face? That's the real thing. That's a chitta. But we always look for the outside things. We look at our body and think, oh, today I'm feeling fine, or today my face looks a little bit worried, or sleepy, and then we judge it, and then we do something. We never look, how a chitta is. We have to take care about the chitta. Get to know who is this knowing nature. That's actually the one who observes all these things. When you go to a movie, you wouldn't say that you are the movie, although you feel with the movie, or with the contents of the movie. You feel sad, or you feel humorous, or you feel whatever. You feel happy, depending on the contents of the movie. But you're not the movie, and you can't change the things. You're just there and sit, in your row, whatever row it is. It may be the front row or maybe the back seat, You sit there and watch this movie. And when the movie ends, you want to see another movie. And if you call it the movie, if you give a title to the movie, then you call it movie of life, of this one life. And the next movie is the movie of the next life. And the previous movie was the movie of the previous life. You're just there, observe, you sit there, observe, and suffer with these people, who appear on the screen. Or are happy with the people who appear on the screen. It's not me, it's not myself, it doesn't belong to me. The Lord Buddha gave us this help to handle the situations. When I say, I'm sick, what is it? I'm sick. The chitta is sick, or is the body sick? And what does sick mean? We just say, and run to the doctor. See how superfluous we are? We just look, we just think, we don't even think. We have our brain only there for our amusement. We think only the things that we want to think. You can call it mental masturbation, that's why we use our brain for. We don't use it, to investigate the things, not to look at the things in a proper way. We're just there to entertain ourselves. If we're able to entertain ourselves well, then everything is fine, and then we don't need to come here to these places to get mental training. But if our mental entertainment is not that fine, then we come and run to this meditation center. And once we stay long enough in this meditation center and our mental training, becomes back to, to comfortable or happiness, then we go back out, and enjoy the mental masturbation until it fails again. And then we come back here again. So, well, give it some wise consideration. The brain is there to use. We can use our thinking in a skillful way and in a wise manner. When we see these things, first of all, we break them down. For instance, I am sick. What does it mean? I am sick. Break it down. First of all, not I. Who is the I that is sick? Who is the one who knows about sickness? And then what is sickness? How does it feel like? And it has many aspects. We just use one term, and we run to the doctor and go to the doctor and tell him, I'm sick, I need some medicine. And then he gives us some pills, and they hopefully help, or they won't help, whatever. And then we run away. Then we run along. It's like a little child, who hurts itself, who stumbles and hurts its foot or hurts its knee, and it's bleeding, and the father sees it and it's crying, and the father just goes to the next ice cream shop, buys an ice cream, and the child forgets everything. About the pain it just suffered, it forgets everything because it gets the ice cream. Like we get our pills from the doctor and we forget everything, and just go ahead on our usual way. The path of practice is the path of investigation. Investigation of everything, of all kinds. So first of all, we disentangle ourselves from I am sick. So, there is sickness. Or there's a bad feeling, or there's a good feeling. There's an unpleasant feeling, or there's an unpleasant feeling. So, we disentangle ourselves. We say, okay, feeling. There is a feeling. That's not me. I'm not the feeling. Because otherwise, who is the one who knows about the feeling? That's the third person who knows about the feeling. And I'm the sickness, and then who is the I? So there's somebody who knows. And we know this process when we do samatha. We observe one object, be it the object of Buddha, or be it the object of the breath, or be it the combined Buddha and the breath. Then there's somebody who is observing, and there's the object to be observed. So there are two things. We call our world the world of duality, so dual. There are two things. There's the observer and the object observed. That's it. And wherever we go, we can verify this. There's only this. And within the body and within the feelings and within the thoughts and memories, it's the same thing. There's a memory that can be observed. The memory arises and ceases. The thought arises and ceases. The feeling arises and ceases. And who is the one who knows about that the feeling arises and ceases? This is the true function of the citta. It's the one who knows. If we go down into the state of Appana Samadhi, then we will see or experience this quality of the knowing nature of the heart or the knowing nature of the citta very extensively. That's why it's advised, to go there, just for getting things clear. What is what? But we still can use it in our daily life. Break things down. Okay. When you say I'm sick, be aware now. From that moment on, from this moment on, be aware of the thought I. Whenever this I, immediately detach yourself and say there is feeling. There's unpleasant feeling. There's pleasant feeling. There's a memory. There's a thought. Detach yourself, just to get used to it. Just to separate these two things. It's just like, in the world, you try to, somebody who is caught in a car, catched in a car, and imprisoned in a car, you get some tools, to get him out of the car. So that he can see the car from the outside. Because he doesn't even know the car from the outside, he just knows it from inside. So we detach ourselves. We detach the citta from the things, from the five khandhas. And that is the first process. And then we investigate this verb or this symbol we have, that we use. It's called either greed, or it's called hate, or it's called sickness, or it's called whatever. Envy. Oh, I just want it. You just look. What is it? What boils it down to? It has to boil down to one of the khandhas. It's either the rupa khandha, so the body, or it's feeling, or it's memory, or association, or it's thinking, or it's consciousness. To one of the things we have to boil it down. And then we can let go. If we do that long enough, we will get a different understanding. We will get a different view of things. We will get a different view of the nature of things. Because then we clearly see, okay, there's seeing, or there's hearing, there's tasting, there's touching, there's feeling, and there's thinking. These are the six senses that are rooted in the body. Get to know it. Get to know it for yourself. Separate yourself of these things. If they would be really I, if they would be really mine, then I can exchange a good feeling with a not so good feeling. Or I can exchange my unpleasant feeling with a pleasant feeling. But can I do that? No, you can't. You can learn to do it. But for the moment you can't. Because you're not in control of it. You don't have the control of the five khandhas. So first of all, you have to learn it. If I have this glass of coffee, I can manipulate it the way I want it. I can drink it or not drink it. I can put it down, I can turn it upside down. With feelings, I can't. They just arise and cease. They come even if I don't want them to come, don't they? Or what else is bothering us? When I decide to sit down and practice, where are all these thoughts are coming from? I don't want them. Where are they coming from? Who is imposing them? How can I be? Who is then the one who wants to practice, and who are the thoughts? If they are I and mine, they can't be. It's impossible. There's only one one entity of I. So look, ไม่เห็นนานละ So look at the things, and I'll try to get them in the proper perspective. A feeling is a feeling, okay. It has arisen and it will cease. Everything that has arisen will cease. We know that. We call it impermanence. Even this whole world is impermanent. Not only this world is impermanent, but the whole universe is impermanent. Including us, including everything that exists in this universe. It's impermanent. It has arisen and it will cease. Some things will take longer to cease, and some things are taking shorter. The lifespan of an animal is mostly much shorter than the lifespan of a human being. But there are some animals who have a longer lifespan than us. So whatever arises and ceases cannot be us. That's one of the first help. Whatever arises and ceases, or whatever we can observe, we don't call us. That's the second help. Because otherwise, who is the one who knows? Who knows about arising and ceasing? Who knows about the breath coming in and the breath going out? Ask yourself, who is it? Who knows? It's not a who, it's not an identity, it's not an entity, it's a faculty of the chitta. The one who knows. Or the knowing nature, even better said. The knowing nature of the chitta knows these things. It's not an identity in itself. It's not a personality. It's not an entity. It's a knowing nature of the chitta who knows that a feeling arises and ceases. That a thought arises and ceases. That this thought has come into the mind, or that thought has come into the mind, or this memory has arisen, or that memory has arisen. That's it. Disentangle yourself. That's the first help. It's a help, to get beyond some of the difficulties, on some of the hindrances in our practice. If you feel tired, and you said, I'm tired, then there's hardly any way to get out of it. But if you say there's tiredness, okay, then you can deal with it in a very different way. Or there's hunger, then you can deal with it in a very different way. If you say, I'm hungry, fixed, out. You need some food. But there's hunger. No, then okay, what is hunger? Hunger, first of all, it's a symbol, it's a word. What does it point down to? Look. Get to know these things. What does it point down to? There's cold. What does it point down to? Cold is a word, it's a symbol. Let's get down to the experience of coldness. What actually is happening? We go to the point, we go with our attention to the point of coldness, where we feel cold. So actually you guess, what it is. It's a feeling. And most of the things are feelings that we encounter. Cold, hunger, tiredness, all feelings. All boil down to feelings. So we investigate these feelings. What are they? We are scared of the symbols. We are afraid of the symbols that we use. It's just like, we tell our little children, some scary tales, and then they will be frightened just by these tales. They have no reality. But just because, of their imagination, they will be frightened. And because of our imagination of the word cold, or the word hunger, or the word this, or the word that, or the word death, we are frightened. What is death? What is cold? What is pain? What is these things? Get down to see it for yourself. And once you see it, you're not even more frightened. How can you be? But unless, we take it for I and mine, we are in a difficult position. We think this feeling is mine, it belongs to me. And that's why we can't handle it. So use this. Use the help that the Lord Buddha gave us, to disentangle ourselves. This is not me, that is not mine, that doesn't belong to me. Whatever I can see, whatever I can feel, whatever I can hear, whatever I can taste, whatever I can touch, whatever I can think about. It's not me, it's not mine, it doesn't belong to me. The body itself is not me, it's not mine, it doesn't belong to me. Feeling, memory and association, thoughts and consciousness, even consciousness. What does consciousness mean? Consciousness just means, something has come into our sense contact. Pum. That's it. We don't even know what has come into our sense contact. That's consciousness. It just knows the sense data has arrived. And we need to have memory and association to identify the sense data. If it's a hearing, or if it's a feeling, or if it's what, whatever. So consciousness arises and ceases just the same way as all the other khandhas. So what is there when consciousness is not there? The whole world must break down. Because consciousness is not there. It cannot make any sense of what is not coming in. If there are no sense data, we are completely lost. But consciousness arises so fast, that we don't even catch it. And in the process of our practice, we will not be able to get to seeing consciousness arising and ceasing until the latest step in our progress, or the latest step in our practice. Only if we have dealt with the body, and then dealt with most of the nama khandhas, the sankhara and sanya and sankhara, that means consciousness, memory and thought, then we are able, to see consciousness arising and ceasing. Before that, we don't. It's just there. We think it's constant. We constantly receive input. It's just like a fast movie. A movie consists of just frames, pictures, one picture after the other. But they are played in such a fast way that our eyes are deceived that there is actually something is moving. And now think about it. The pictures in the States, it's 30 pictures per second. In Europe, it's 25 pictures per second. That deceive our eyes. Now, mind moments, there are 3,000 mind moments in the blink of the eye. So it's pretty fast. So what actually is there, when we look at it, it's just one frame after the other. We are very good in copying these things, making new technologies out of it. Like moving pictures, We call it, in the beginning, it was moving pictures. It's actually a picture, it's one frame. And when we look at one frame, we are not interested. It's getting boring. But if the frames, go at a very high speed, then we are fooled in seeing actually somebody walking along. Or somebody hitting something. If you just see one frame, we don't see anything. Because of this high-speed process, we are getting fooled into something actually is moving along a line. But what is there is just one moment after one other moment. And we are the ones who draw a line from one point of consciousness to another point of consciousness, and then, the past arises and the future arises. And that's what is. Because in this moment, in this very moment, there is no past, there is no future. There's just this present moment. See, we are fooling ourselves, believing this. A point is a point, another point is another point. And the line is that what we draw. And the line is that what we think we are. From the past up to the present, that's what we are. Including all the events that we can remember. The ones that we don't want to remember, we forget. So get this as a help, or remember at least, remember at least while you're doing a practice, bits and pieces of what I said. Use this as a help, to disentangle yourself from your views and opinions, from the things that immediately happen. This is not happening to yourself, it's just happening, like you're sitting back in a movie and watching it. And sometimes it actually can happen during the practice that you actually sit in the theater and you see somebody, two people in a stage fighting. And you just observe them, Once you're drawn in, of course it hits you. And that's the moment when you identify yourself with the people on the stage, or with the actors on the stage. Then it hurts. Once you just observe it, as it happens, then it just happens. Use it, because the times are getting sometimes very difficult and very, very obscure, you don't even know what is going on. Use it then to disentangle yourself. Also this disentanglement, getting clear what is the chitta and what is the body, getting clear what is the chitta and what is feeling. Helps ourselves. This is the third fetter, if you remember, if you want to go into the path of stream entry, you have to break down the first three fetters. The first fetter is the fetter of doubt. Doubt that there is nibbana, doubt that there is heaven and hell, and doubt that there is karma, and there is a good result of karma and bad results of karma, and doubt that we do karma. Just in short, this is the fetter of doubt. The second fetter is the fetter of Silabbata Paramasa, constantly fiddling with the rules. And what are the rules? Are the 5 precepts. Keeping them today and then neglecting on the next 2 weeks, and keeping them again and neglecting once in a while. Or this is fiddling with rules. That's the second fetter that keeps us. And the third fetter is that obnoxious belief that I and the body are one and the same thing. So if you can reduce these 3 fetters, and the first 2 fetters, are pretty easy to get rid of. Doubt, you just don't doubt, just let it, just give it, maybe it exists. It probably does exist. So many wise people have been talked about heaven and hell, have been talked about karma. That's the first fetter. The second fetter, just keep the sila. Just keep the 5 precepts. And if you're here in the monastery, you can even keep the 8 precepts. While you're in the monastery, you cannot have any sexual conductance anyway. So that is one more precept. So keep the precepts. And then the first 2 fetters are taken care of. And then handle the third fetter. And the third fetter is this obnoxious belief that I and the body are the same. How can they be the same? I can see the body. So, I can see the floor. I can see this column. But I wouldn't call myself this column. I wouldn't call myself the floor. But why do I call this what I also see, me? I can manipulate the floor. I can manipulate, the trees around me. I can manipulate the columns around me. I can manipulate this body. But these things I call not me. And this thing I call me. Why is this? Get to know it. What is it? The body is the body, Once you get to understand, that the body and the chitta are two different things, then you actually have access to stream entry. And you know what stream entry is. It's a path out of this ever-turning wheel of existence. The stream entry is the path out, or stream entry is actually entering the stream that leads to Nibbana. There is no way that once we enter the stream we cannot go to Nibbana. It's just a matter of how long it takes. At most it will take another 7 lifetimes. And if you are good, it will just take this lifetime. So, and these 3 fetters, are necessary to break down. So if you want to go, that is your first obstacle. This identification with the body. And it's so strong. Don't underestimate it. So we have to find some tools, how to break it down. One of the tools is given in the suttas. The Lord Buddha is talking about the wagon. He's talking about the example of the wagon. Once the wagon is put into its bits and pieces, where is the wagon? If you disassemble a wagon, into wheel and into planks and into nuts and into bolts, where is the wagon? There's no wagon anymore. There are nuts, bolts, planks, and so on. A wheel. You can even disassemble the wheel, then there's no wheel anymore. So, how is this coming along? Once it's assembled in the right way, we call it wagon. Once it is assembled, we don't even see the wagon. How can this take place? And we do this example, we take this example and using it on our body. So we disassemble the body, putting it into bits and pieces. And we put it into bits and pieces and put it in front of us. Once the bits and pieces of the body are in front of us, they are not sitting there anymore on the cushion. We have to get this exercise right so that it works. And once all the parts of the body are out, we lose for a second or for a moment, we lose this identification with this body. And if we do this exercise long enough, we will understand that the body and I are not the same thing. Or the body and the chitta are not one and the same thing. And if we have taken care of the other two fetters, then there shouldn't be any hindrance, to enter the stream. It's not so difficult, Once you know it, it's not so difficult. You just have to do a lot of work. I don't know how long it will take, It depends on your determination and effort, Or to get the things right, to see, that the body and the chitta are not one and the same thing. It might take a long time. You actually have to see it, you have to experience it. And the first experience might not be enough. So you might have to experience 100 times, or 1,000 times, or maybe even 1,000,000 times. Because the experience takes place in the chitta. And actually, we have to train the chitta. So that the chitta sees, that the body and I is not the same thing, or the body and the chitta are not the same thing. Because so far it believes it's one and the same thing. So it has to be convinced that it's not the same thing. And this sort of conviction takes place in our heart or in our chitta. It doesn't take place in our mind. Of course, our mind will be convinced after 3 times. But this kind of conviction is useless. It's not an experience. This kind of conviction that takes place in our minds is not useful. It has not the ability to let go of. We might be convinced, that greed is something very, very ugly. We should not do it. But we still keep on being greedy. So this conviction doesn't help us and then let go of greed. And the same thing of hate. Even if we think, hate is something loathsome, we should not be able to do it. We're really convicted and we try our best not to do it, but we still are hateful. When I talk about greed and hate, it's the same thing as for dukkha. They are just containers. Hate is every sort of disgust or or really hate or something, just I don't want. Just this little feeling I don't want or don't bother me, is a form of hate. Just the feeling of I want is a form of greed. I want this way. I don't want it to rain, Or I want it to rain. Or I want some good food, These are forms of greed and hate. So we really have to understand. We really have to understand or train our chitta. And that is the training when we develop wisdom. When we talk about wisdom, what is the third stage in the path that leads to the end of dukkha? Wisdom, panya. Then this is the training of the chitta. Making the chitta understand that what it's doing is unwholesome. It's not accomplished in our brains. It's not accomplished in our in our head. Can only be accomplished in our heart or in our chitta. So, make this clear.